Welcome to Reading Slow. Today's video will be my list of all the books I plan on reading in the next few months. It's a long list, and so I've split it into several categories. There's some overlap for some of the books in the categories. I've tried to keep all the categories at roughly the same size. There's lots of books to go through, so let's get into it. The first category is upcoming books from my library. I've recently started using the app for my library, BorrowBox, for people in the UK. You're allowed to put 5 books on hold and you have to wait for them to become available. I like to keep one slot open for books that are available to read automatically. And so the 4 books that I am going to be reading in the next couple of months are Knock 3 Times by Cresta Cow, book 3 in the Wizards of Once series. This series is amazing, mostly because it's narrated by David Tennant, and the voices that he does are really good, really interesting, keeps the book exciting. There's explosions, magic noises. It's a whole journey. Book 2 on my list is Queen of Nothing by Holly Black, book 3 in the Folk of the Air series. I am really excited to finally finish this series, as the second book ended on a complete cliffhanger and I can't believe what happened, and I can't wait to see what happens next. I just want everyone to be happy and have a good time, but I doubt that's gonna happen. The next book I have on hold is The Ruin of Kings by Jen Lyons. I don't know much about this book except it's a fantasy book and it has dragons, which is an automatic read for me. The last book I have on hold is The Body by Bill Bryson. This book is everywhere. I see it on Goodreads, I see it when I go into bookstores, and so I finally decided to get round to it. The next category is shorter reads / easier reads. These are books that are easy to read, they're quick, they're entertaining, they don't take too long to read. Nothing at all like some of the big fantasy books that will appear later in the list. The first 2 books on my list are All the Bad Apples by Moira Fowley Doyle and These Broken Stars by Amy Kaufman and Megan Spooner. These 2 books are the June and July books for a book club that I'm in on Instagram. I especially like this cover. I'm really excited to see what each one is about. I'm really excited to read from some new authors that I've never tried before. The next short book is The Red Scrolls of Magic by Cassandra Clare and Wesley Chu. This is the last Cassandra Clare book that I have to read in the Shadowhunter world. This is actually from my library. I got it out in March and the return date is not until September due to the coronavirus, so I still have some time. The next book I have is Equal Rights by Terry Pratchett, book 3 in his Discworld series. I am slowly making my way through the ginormous stack that is Terry Pratchett's Discworld. I really enjoyed the second book and I just want to keep the momentum going. Looking at the front cover, I'm in for a ride. The last 2 books on my list of shorter books is Poison Study by Maria V. Snyder and A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kemmerer. These 2 books I'm hoping to read as an ebook on Scribd, as I find that I fly through ebooks and I've been wanting to get round to these 2 for a while, and I thought that I better do it soon. The next category is books I've started but haven't finished. The first book, Les Miserables. This book is long. Not only is it 1,300 pages, but the words are really small. I even have 2 bookmarks in it because there are 300 pages of footnotes that have been put into the back because there are too many to put at the bottom of each page. It's also really long, just in the fact it takes so long to read so few pages. At one point there's a list of all the expenses of the bishop at the monastery. No one needs to read that. The next book is The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. I'm really enjoying this book. At least I was when I was reading it last. I really like this edition. It's not too busy on the front like some of the other versions. It's really pretty on the inside as well. I love the way that the story is being told, and I just want to finish it because it's magical and a wonderful read. Next book is Dune by Frank Herbert. This sci-fi classic is everywhere at the moment due to the film that's supposed to be released at some point, and I really want to get to it before the movie is out. However, I did have this on hold at my library and it was available for pickup, but then just before I could get to the library, my library closed, and it's been on hold for me to pick up for several months now, and once it is available for me to go get it, I will be going and getting it. The next 2 books on books that I've started but haven't finished yet are both non-fiction. The Planets by Brian Cox and Andrew Cohen, and Wonders of the Solar System by the same authors. These 2 books are very similar to each other, but they are vastly different at the same time. The next category of books is final books in series that I haven't completed yet. First book is Night of the Dragons by Julia Kagawa. I have enjoyed the first 2 books in this trilogy, and I have heard good things about the third one. I just need to get around to it. This follows Japanese mythology and is a really good fantasy book following a ragtag team as they try and save the world. First on my list is a book I haven't got round to reading because it's quite large. Inheritance by Christopher Paolini. This book is the biggest book in the series, and considering it took me a long time to read each book, I haven't picked this up yet. But I really want to because I want to find out what happens with the battle that we all know is coming between our hero and the big baddie. And it's got dragons, and who doesn't love dragons? Next up is The Fates Divide by Veronica Roth. This is the second book in a duology, and considering it's duology, I feel like I should have read the second book a long time ago, but I just haven't got around to it, and I just want to have read it so I can have finished the series. I really like the world it's set in, and I'm intrigued. The next 2 are part of series that I started a few years ago when vampires and angels and all that was popular. Finale and Passing Strange by Becca Fitzpatrick and Daniel Waters, respectively. These two books are just part of series that I have started so long ago, but I have this sort of complex where I have to have finished a series because I just have to know what happens to all the characters, and I feel really weird if I don't know what happens. So I know these won't take too long to read, and I just want to have those series locked away under my belt so I can say that I have completed them. The next stack of books is what I like to call my stack of big books. Now, I have already shown some big books, but those sort of fall under other categories foremost. So here we go. Some other big books that I haven't got around to yet because they are big. This one, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. I recently reread the whole Hunger Games trilogy in preparation for this book, and now I have to read it. I've not seen that many great things about it, but I am an optimist, and I tend to like most books that I read. Even if I don't love them with all my heart, I tend to have a good time just overall. So I'm not gonna let the hate get me down, and I'm gonna go into it with an open mind, and hopefully I'll enjoy it more than the average person. Up next is the first book of a new series, Crescent City series. First book, House of Earth and Blood. I feel a little guilty about wanting to read this book so soon, as I haven't read the Throne of Glass series yet. I fully intend to. I own all the books. However, this book is beautiful. Look at it. Look at it. And I've heard a lot of good things about this, which makes me want to read it a lot sooner. And I know that once I read this, there's no other books yet for me to read, so I can just read this and I don't feel compelled to complete the whole series all in one go. Up next, I've already mentioned this book once in a list of books that I meant to read. Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. It's just so big. It's so intimidating. I feel like I have other books that need to take priority, and so I just haven't found the urge to pick it up and plow through yet. I know that a good trick to getting into a big book like this is to read about 100 to 150 pages just in a short space of time, about a couple of days. So I just need to get round to it. One book that I definitely need to read before I get to that book, The Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson. Book 2 in the Mistborn series. I'm not a big fan of these covers, I know a lot of people are, but I'm a really big fan of what's inside the cover. This book is a little bit bigger than the previous book, so I'm a little bit scared to pick it up, and I love the first book so much, and I'm scared it's not going to live up to that, which is probably why I haven't got around to it yet. I kind of keep distracting myself with other books, but I just need to do it, as Nike would say. The last book in my stack of big books is Assassin's Quest by Robin Hobb. This book is not the book that I ordered. I ordered the cover that matches the other book that I already own. The company I ordered from bamboozled me, and so I will be getting a refund, which means I might not be able to start this one quite as soon as I hoped, because I have to return this and order a new copy. This is mass market paperback size, which means it's smaller and it just won't look right. But I'm really excited to get to the third one because the end of the second one was really entertaining. So many things happened. I don't know where the next book is going to go. I was shook. I am invested in the characters. Some of them are just really mean. I really want Fitz to be happy and have a nice life. And I know there are more books in the whole overall world, and so I feel like Fitz is not gonna have a great time overall. So I will be getting to the last book in the trilogy as soon as I can. The final stack of books that I will be talking about are my stack of books to read, as it's an important time to be reading them right now. It is always important to be reading these types of books. However, I have made it a priority to try and tackle more books than I would usually read at present. I don't know how many books I'll be able to get to straight away because the only place I can really read them at the moment is on Scribd, and if you read too many books on Scribd, they like to limit the books that you can read. So hopefully I can get round to them. When my library opens, I will be getting them from my library as well. I have also ordered a couple so that the money will go towards the author, and I am currently awaiting them. One of them I have already listened to on Scribd, The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. I ordered it because I loved it, and I feel like there are so many quotes that I want to be able to highlight as they are so important, and I believe they really capture what's going on in the world at present. First book is Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race by Renee Edo-Lodge. Book 2 is How to Be Anti-Racist by Ibram X. Kendi. Next, White Rage by Carol Anderson. I'm really excited to know more about American history and the situation in America. I know that in the UK, racism still is an issue, but I am interested to find out how it's a problem in the US and the history of the US, as I don't know a lot of US history apart from the history of Joseph Smith and the Mormons, because that's the topic we learn in GCSE history. Aside from the non-fiction books that I want to read, I also want to read some fiction books, because fiction books can make you more empathic, can make you feel more empathy towards the characters. And I also want to read just more fantasy and fiction books by Black authors. Top of my list is A Song of Wraiths and Ruins by Roseanne A. Brown. However, this book is not out yet in the UK. I have been seeing so many people loving this book and reading this book, and I cannot be a part of that because it's not out. I have to wait, and I feel sad about that. Next up is Slay by Brittany Morris. This book sounds really interesting. A sci-fi book with a game, a competition, online, playing against other people. It sounds really interesting and right up my alley. I really liked Ready Player One, and I'm eager to get into this one. Next is a book that's high up on everyone's lists recently, and I've been seeing all over the place. Felix Ever After by Kaysen Calendar, a book about a transgender teen coming to terms with who they are and falling in love. I've heard a lot of good things about this book, so I'm excited to get into it. Next is another book that I've been seeing everywhere recently, All Boys Aren't Blue by George M. Johnson. This book is something that I have never really read before, which is a young adult memoir about the struggles of the author's life and in essays, which I think is going to be really interesting, and it's something that I'm interested to see if it's for me in terms of style. The last two books are fantasy, and I am really excited about them. The first is Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. This book has been on my radar forever. I read Fangirl back when the hype was still new, and it's been a long time since Carry On came out, and I still haven't got round to it, even though it sounds right up my alley and something I would definitely 100% enjoy. The last book in this section and on my whole very long list is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I read Circe and I really enjoyed it, and people have said that The Song of Achilles is possibly better, and so I'm really looking forward to it. I've always loved mythology, and so I know that that is something that is going to really interest me, and I think it's going to be a really good time. So there we have it, my rather long list of books that I want to get to in the next few months. Let's see how well I'll do. If you want to see what books I managed to get round to, I will still be doing my monthly wrap-ups. Hopefully the next one I'll be able to do on time. I am really looking forward to my list of books. I will be going off my list of books every now and again, just because some books are available more easily than other books, and sometimes I'm not in the mood for one book and I'll read a different book, and sometimes I'll just read a quick book in between other books. Thanks for watching, and that's that.